in our community as being some of the first African Americans who were elected to the Lincoln Parish School Board. Mr. Calvin Wilkerson and Mr. George Mack Sr. both joined this board along with Reverend C.E. McLean and Dr. Ruth Bradford on January 1st, 1973. Both of these men, Mr. Wilkerson and Mr. Mack, shared a similar passion for education for all people and played a significant role in shaping the history of this parish through their service on this board and their influence in the community. These men fought for equal rights for everyone, and their commitment to equality was unwavering. These men helped pave the way for minorities in K-12 education here in Lincoln Parish, and they were passionate about making our community a better place for its citizens and its students. Here today to represent Mr. Calvin Wilkerson, who served on this board from 1973 to 1998, is his daughter, Dolores Smith. Dolores, if you would rise. Oh, thank you. Mr. Smith, thank you for being here as well.
And her daughter.
And her daughter.
Attorney Elizabeth Smith.
Hi, Elizabeth Smith, the daughter.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And here to represent Mr. George Mack Sr., who served on this board from 73 to 2000. And so we are grateful for the service of these two men and their families to our school system and to Lincoln Parish as a whole. Dr. Williams.
Thank you. Both were passionate about providing a quality education for all students. They spent time in the community educating constituents on how the system works and how constituents can make the system more beneficial to them. Prior to every vote, both read all board packets in depth. I remember as a teenager, I recall learning how Mr. Mack would spend his lunch breaks reviewing and preparing for board meetings. After Mr. George Mack Sr. had arrived at work just for a few hours, he would clock out and also leave work to attend every board meeting. After the meeting was completed, he would return to his workplace. Both listened to every constituent, like I mentioned, and they ensured that the voices of the people who rarely were heard always had a seat at the table. Also, I want to mention, too, that with Mr. Wilkerson, he was a very successful businessman. He was well known all over the state, and it is common for members in our community to approach me in their lives. Listening to those stories, I can honestly say that they were ahead of their time. One of the things that stood out is with public office was not, with both of them, it wasn't about acquiring power, notoriety, or selfish interests, or even personal wealth. It was about maintaining an unwavering standard of integrity and high standard of ethics. And so the opportunity to observe such outstanding examples in this community is an honor. Thank you for sharing your fathers with us in this community, and we are extremely grateful for the both of them.
So just as a point of order for our board members, as you see in front of you a microphone, it should be on the O, which is off. If you do want to speak, please bring your microphone down, put it on the I, and feel free to speak, and then you can turn it back to O when you're finished. Okay, so moving on to unfinished business to deal with policy manual revisions. Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. At the January 9th board meeting, the following policies were recommended for revision: GBG probation, IHAB parent conferences, JGB school wellness, and JCG student health services. My recommendation is that the board approves these revisions at the time.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
If nothing from the board or from the public, I move that we approve these revisions as recommended by Mr. Young.
So moved by Mr. Smith. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hancock. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it will pass. Mr. Edmonston.
Yes, sir. At the December 5th board meeting, you gave us permission to advertise for bids for duplicated paper. We received bids from 3 vendors, and we opened those bids on January the 29th, and we're recommending that you accept the lowest bid, which is Parker Wholesale, $34,750.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from the board? Or any public comment? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve.
Thank you. The Lincoln Parish School District submitted a Form 470 with USAC for E-rate discounts on Category 1 and Category 2 services to be provided during the 2024-2025 school year. If approved, the E-rate program will pay 90% of the cost of the Category 1 services, with the district covering the remaining 10%. Category 1 services include the WAN or wide area network and internet. The E-rate program will pay 85% of the cost of Category 2 services, with the district covering the remaining 15%. Category 2 service types requested were internal connection and basic maintenance of internal connections. This includes cabling, switches, racks that house those switches, firewalls, UPS or battery backups, wireless access points, licensing and management, and other related components. Following a 30-day waiting period, the Lincoln Parish School District received the following proposals from different vendors. For Category 1, we received proposals from Hunt Telecommunications or Unity Company, AT&T, Optimum, Conterra Ultra Broadband, and Citranet, LATG, BCI, DOF Creations Communications, a Unity Company, and Detail Computer Solutions. After review of each of these proposals and going through our scoring rubric, the committee doing the scoring came up with the following recommendations. Following our committee's review, and we asked for your approval to enter into contract with each of the following vendors. For Category 1 services, for the Category 2 services for cabling and racks, a Unity Company. For the underground fiber projects, Skyrider Communications. And for the remaining Category 2 services, which again is for the switches, access points, battery backups, licensing, and so forth, to enter into contract with these vendors.
Okay, thank you for that. So, any questions or comments from the board? Any public input? If not, I'll accept a motion that we accept those recommendations as presented. So moved by Ms. Debbie Abram. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Linda Henderson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll make that matter pass. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the section of new business for this board. Again, as a reminder, because of the interest in this subject, I will ask that the public comment try to stay on topic, as well as try to limit your comments to around 3 minutes if possible. Again, this is not an opportunity or a time for questions. It is an opportunity for feedback, and we welcome that feedback, opportunity to ask questions, and we welcome those at that time. But moving on to new business, 7.1, to consider and take action with respect to adopting a resolution approving the capital improvement plan, designated purposes for which proceeds the proposed general obligation bonds, which will be budgeted, and otherwise providing with respect thereto regarding Shudrint School District Number 6. Mr. Durrett, Mr. Schluter, and Juanita Duke.
Okay, so this is our capital improvement plan for the Shudrint District Number 6, Shudrint School District. It is additional classrooms and boys and girls restrooms at Shudrint Elementary for $1.5 million. And then at Shudrint High School, a new multi-purpose room for $500,000. If passed, this bond would generate $2 million, and that is the capital improvement plan.
Thank you. Any questions from the board or any comment? Any public comment on this action? Hearing none, I would accept a motion that we pass this as presented.
You said that, I'm sorry.
Smith, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Hearing none, 7.1 will pass. 7.2, consider and take action with respect to adopting a resolution ordering and calling for a special election to be held in Shudrint School District Number 6 of the Parish of Lincoln, State of Louisiana, to authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds therein, making application to the State Bond Commission, and providing for other matters in connection there.
Grant Schluter.
Grant Schluter with Godley Bond Counsel and Lucius McGee with Argent Financial Advisor. This resolution is a companion to the one that you just adopted, approving the capital improvements, and that assuming passage of that proposition, you covenant to use your best efforts to the extent feasible to do each and every of those projects that are listed in the capital improvement plan. The proposition will be for $2 million. It will incorporate by reference in the ballot initiative the capital improvement plan that you just approved. And it will provide there is no projected or estimated increase in the current millage being levied by the school board to pay the outstanding bonds of the Shudrint District, and that is 14 mills, so there's no projected increase in that millage rate. And this is the formal election call to place this on the ballot for the April 27th election.
Thank you, Mr. Schluter. Is there any questions or comments from the board? Any public comment? Hearing none, I would accept a motion that we pass that as presented. So moved by Mr. Mitchum, second by Mr. Hancock. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Hearing none, we'll mark that matter passed. Moving on to 7.3, to consider and take action with respect to adopting a resolution approving the capital improvement plan, designating purposes for which proceeds of proposed general obligation bonds which will be budgeted and otherwise providing with respect thereto Ruston School District Number 1. Mr. Durrett, Mr. Schluter, Juanita Duke, and Mr. McGee.
Okay, so our capital improvement plan here for the Ruston School District number, students walk in at $200,000, and then at Ruston High School, be a new roof, $1 million, entrance upgrades for security, which this is dealing more with doors and limiting access to the school, $950,000, body scan machines, $300,000, which would be 3, parking lot by the gym out in front. We've had dirt hauled in there, so to complete that parking lot and build it would be $330,000. A covered pavilion, which would be adjacent to the football dressing rooms there, which would be used for football, soccer, band, and many other things there. That's $5 million. Softball upgrades, moving softball from the city complex back over to Bittersweet, updating that facility over there with turf, dressing rooms, lights, backstops, those things would be $3.5 million. Upgrading boys and girls dressing rooms, basketball dressing rooms in the gym. We're doing some work there right now for volleyball and bathroom upgrades. This would continue that for $1.5 million, but we take care of girls and boys basketball there. And then upgrades at the baseball field for 2.2, which would include grandstands, fixing the backstop that was damaged back during the tornado, and any repairs or upgrades that we need to do to the fencing in the outfield there. And then the last thing is transportation, activity buses. These would be buses that are used for our activity trips, captain seating type seats in them, air conditioned, heated, storage underneath. These would not be used on the route. They would only be used for activity trips, whether it be sporting events, events at elementary schools, if they're going to Monroe or Shreveport or somewhere, the ballet or any other things. All of this would be used. These buses would be used for those purposes and not be used on bus routes. All of that comes to the $17.5 million.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the board or comments from the audience?
Just,
Oh, Lucius, I'm sorry.
On the projects, and the resolution is coming up after this for the full $17.5 million. All of these projects will be done in the course of time. There's no priority that one takes over the other. They will all be fully funded for that. That's a question that came up in the public meeting last week, so just thought I would make that statement.
Thank you. So are there any questions or comments from the board? Comments from the public? You're welcome to come up to the podium.
Dan Gressett, principal at Ruston High School. Excuse me, I've had a cold the last couple of days. Just real quick on why I think this is important for Ruston High School in particular. I'm not going to speak to Ruston Junior High School, although I do have a student at Ruston Junior High School. We've discussed several of these ideas for years. Most of these things in this plan are things that we've discussed as a principal, as an athletic director, with Coach Ball, all of our head coaches. These have been ongoing discussions for several years now. So I do want to just go through a few of them. We are fortunate to have a superintendent that asks for principal and for athletic director input. We're on campus every day. We know what our kids need. We know what our coaches need. We know what our parents are asking for. Do we have nice facilities? Yes. We're very fortunate to have those nice facilities. But in my opinion, if we want to continue, being a top district in the state, we want to continue Ruston High School as being one of the top high schools in the state, then we want our kids to have every opportunity and the best opportunity to succeed at everything, whether that's athletics, academics, whatever it may be. We really owe it to them. And again, I'm not just speaking as a principal, but as the father of a seventh grader who will benefit from these projects within the next couple of years. I think the safety and security upgrades, that goes without saying. We need all of those and more. The new roof, every time we get a big rain, several leaks throughout the building for years. If you've never been up on the roof at Ruston High School, it's not easy to get up there, but it's like a waterbed on top of it. The parking lot in between what we call our freshman lot and our gym lot, there used to be a big hole. Most of that has been filled in now. We need additional parking. If you've been to any event at Ruston High School, parking is a nightmare, especially on Friday nights. Boys and girls basketball renovations. Very few renovations have been done to the basketball side of things, really since that gym was built. They deserve that as well. Volleyball is going to be really, really nice. The entrance, the lobby is going to be super nice. Softball field, as a former coach, I do understand what it's like not to have your own place to call home. We were in that same situation with baseball when I coached baseball for several years. Our girls deserve their own place. It's time for us to do that. The upgrades at baseball, again, I coached out there for 16 years. Some of that stuff has needed to be upgraded really for about 20 years, but in recent years, the storms, we have a safety hazard really with our backstop and press box area. I invite you to go out there and look at it. It's in terrible shape. We've made do, and we've patched it. That needs to be fixed. Yes, covering the stadium style seating will be really nice as well. Try to get on par with the other baseball fields out there at that facility. The covered pavilion, I firmly believe that will be our most used facility on campus. I really do believe that. We've got hundreds and hundreds of student athletes, band members, spirit group members, many others that would be using that facility. I've been at Ruston High School 22 years, 6 years as the principal. I honestly believe that will be our most used facility on our campus. The activity buses, I've driven thousands and thousands of miles for 16 years, thousands of miles every corner of this state and several other states. How nice would it have been to have these activity buses with storage underneath, captain-style seating, heat and air? It's something that's needed. It's something that's needed. I humbly ask the board to vote in favor of putting this on the ballot. Then I ask the board to unite behind this and do what's best for the students of Ruston Junior High School and Ruston High School. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gressett. Any other comments from the public? Thank you, Mrs. Smith, for being here. Ms. Smith, thank you for coming. Go ahead.
My name's Allison Foster. I'm here just as a parent. I have a daughter. She plays softball and soccer at Ruston High. She's a junior. She's currently committed to play Division I softball at McNeese in 2025. We're proud of that. I won't go too much into further as to what Mr. Gressett said. I piggyback off of all of that, really. I just wanted to kind of give a little bit more detailed insight as to a parent of an athlete that has been involved in both programs and multiple sports. I guess first off, I'd say, she, I don't know the percentage. I'm sure there's somebody in this room that could give me some numbers as to percentage of students at Ruston High that are athletes. I'd venture to say 30% plus athletes. I know that my daughter in particular, I can speak to her, and I think she's a good example of any other athlete at Ruston High or any other athlete at any of the schools in our parish. And I can very strongly say that being involved in athletics has transformed her academic performance. And the more competitive that she gets, the higher the level of play that she's able to play at, the better she's able to do academically. The more lessons she learns, the more prepared she is to be out in the world and be a productive citizen and possibly be in this room one day. I can say that academics has been definitely bolstered by the ability to be an athlete. And there's just no way that she could have been as successful in the classroom had she not had that capability. You take a 6- and 7-year-old that misses recess for a week, and what they're able to do in the classroom, fast forward that 10 years, if these kids don't have some sort of an outlet for that, they're not going to be able to perform. So I think you're doing a disservice to our student athletes at Ruston High or anybody involved in any kind of extracurricular by not giving them the opportunity to perform and to be competitive. As for softball in particular, that's really what I'd like to speak to. I'd say these female athletes, they don't have a facility of their own. We're lucky to have the sports complex. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful facility. I feel lucky as a community member to have that, for everybody to be able to take advantage of that. It's something to brag about in our community, absolutely. As far as a home for a sport, a school sport, it's not. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked for years. We don't have continuous, exclusive access to that facility. We have to request permission to be let in after hours. We can't practice year-round. We have umpires sharing our locker room. We've had equipment stolen when the doors get left unlocked. We have league teams that come and use our facilities before we have the authority to use them. I've spent hundreds and hundreds upon thousands of dollars when my daughter plays at a public school team because she has to go use private facilities to be able to train. You know, if she's a member of a school team, she should be able to go and use school facilities. Every other sport in our school has their own facilities. I understand that girls and boys basketball, they share. That works. A basketball court is a basketball court, it works. For softball and baseball don't have the same facilities. They don't have the same need. Their fields aren't the same size, their equipment's not the same, and our seasons are the same. We can't share a field. And a female sport shouldn't be asked to share. They shouldn't be asked to take backseat. The female athlete should be given exactly the same opportunities as the male athletes. So we have baseball, who has for years had their own facility after they bought back out of the lease with the city, and they're able to go all hours of the day. They can go hit, they can go train, they can go work, they can go perfect their craft, they can be competitive, and with goals and aspirations to play at a higher level or just to be a better, more well-rounded person. Our girls can't do that, not in the same way that the boys do. I think you do a disservice to the female athletes if we continue on that path, and I think it's long overdue for us to have some comparable facilities, at least to baseball. Nobody's asking to have state-of-the-art NFL, Major League Baseball, college softball. We're not asking for that, but we are asking as a female sport to be treated equally as the males. And we think that by doing that, moving to bittersweet, upgrading, getting us playable, allowing us to have continuous access with our own field, then we can accomplish that and finally build a program that we can be competitive with in the state. So, I thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Any further public comment? Any questions or comments from the board?
I have a comment. A few weeks ago, prior to our votes, this tax renewal was presented to the board. A year ago, the school system leaders were aware of this tax renewal, and so all board members were not informed. And that's not right. It's about transparency to me, and this process is rushed. And I ideally would like to wait until November to really get the public input and get all stakeholders involved. But some information that was presented to me yesterday, the information that was presented, we must vote on it today. There were some COVID money, COVID relief money that was spent on projects that was not disclosed to the board members. And as Ruston High School principal just mentioned, the leaks, I'm concerned about our priority in renovating the gym and not replacing the roof. I talked about that yesterday. I do believe that there are some projects that should be utilized using the reserve fund. And we were informed of the total liquid assets on yesterday. So I've read articles, talked to people, things were mentioned about Title IX regarding softball. My expectation is for us to deal with every Office of Civil Rights issue in this school system moving forward. I would like to also include band members' requests. Some of the things that they need, I would like to address that too as well. Moving forward, there will be checks and balances regarding finances. And I assure the public that there will be accountability as far as our finances, and there will be an increase in transparency. I will vote yes, but I do have concerns, and they will be addressed.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Anybody else? Any public comment? If not, I'll take a motion. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I would like to say that at first I thought that maybe it was a little rushed and that we didn't have enough time to get it out to the public. But I always want Ruston and our parish to be the best. So I think that these things that we're trying to do would make our school the best. And due to some things that would cause us to wait, if we waited till November, would cause a problem. So I don't want to wait. So I'm for it too, but at first I was kind of hesitant on the timing. But I always believe that whatever we do, take it to the people. And so I'm for it, take it to the people and let them decide.
I'd like to reiterate, Ms. Henderson, let the people vote, but don't let my vote influence you at all. You vote your conscience. Now, I'm gonna vote yes to show unity in this board, but by no means, don't take that. I'm agreeing or nothing. You use your own discretion in what you do. So I don't want you saying I was for nothing. All I'm saying is vote your conscience. Don't use mine. Because there's one thing I'm a liberal reader for, and that's academics and learning. Now, I was a coach some 20-some odd years, and a lot of them that played sports stayed there because they loved the sport they played. And that's true. And some of them, it didn't matter what you did, they couldn't cut the mustard with a hatchet. But academics is what's going to push our kids to the future. Everybody in high school is not no prime time professional player. You better have a backup. And my backup is the education these kids receive. And like Ms. Williams said, there's a lot of things we need to correct. And we're going to get to that issue too. So, like I said, vote your conscience. Don't use mine.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. Any other comments from the board?
Mr. President, would you, for our community, and Danielle has stated it, Ms. Henderson certainly, my colleague David Brooks, would you reiterate the importance of community involvement? Danielle spoke to it. Dave and I were in a meeting yesterday. We know. I want to compliment Lucius McGee. Appreciate Mr. Stewart being here. Compliment Mr. McGee because he sort of capsuled, the strengths that we're working with. So, Mr. President, I want to hear from you. Say to the public what it is that we are going to do to ensure what happened last time does not reoccur this time. Could you speak to that, sir?
Yes, George. I've referred to him as Mr. Mack all the time, and he gets mad at me, so I call him George, but only because he tells me to. I will tell you that this board is committed to being transparent. I believe that's the word I heard. This board is committed for transparency. We're also committed to questions and answers and meeting with the public.
That's right.
And this public deserves to hear and have the opportunity to ask hard questions and deserve the truth.
Yep.
And so we want you to know that we are going to continue to work for the next 2+ months if this matter is passed, to meet with you. And we're going to continue to have open meetings to allow you to have the opportunity to ask those questions and get input, so that when it comes to a vote, that we make an educated vote. And I believe once that happens, I, in my heart of hearts, believe this matter will pass. I really believe that. But we want you to understand it. It's not going to be something we're trying to do behind closed doors, but we want to be transparent and open and honest with you. So we're going to continue to have those meetings.
Mr. Phillips, I'd like to just say a big word. One thing I'm hearing.
Dr. Lewis, if you would please be so kind.
Can you hear me from here?
Oh, we got the video.
Take it to her.
You got
You take it to her, Mr. Brown?
I would just like to say I'm listening to the board. You are our leaders. And I appreciate all of you. And I've heard different views. And that's good, that we hear different views. But the good thing that I've heard is that we don't always get everything we want. And we all understand that. It has been pointed out here that I'd like it to be this way. And that would be good. But I see also a concern for cohesion amongst the board members. And that's wonderful. I regret having to go back, but last year, if you will excuse me, we were not together on this board. We were divided. And the community was also divided. But we learned a lot from last year. And I see it coming to this board, and then I saw it in the community in the public meeting last Monday night. So my point is, we don't always agree on everything, but I can hear a sense of compromise. Compromise this time, and hopefully we'll learn the next time to be even closer to getting it all together, if that makes any sense. Thank you.
Any final comments from the public?
I have a question real quick. I won't go over. What is the amount of the reserves Lincoln Parish has? I know it's a public.
We'll be glad to have that conversation after the meeting. Unfortunately, this is not a time for questions. This is a time for public comment.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
If nothing further from the public or the board, I make a motion that we consider and take action with respect to adopting this resolution.
A motion's been heard from Hunter Smith. Is there a second? A second by Donna Doss. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Hearing none, the matter passes. Moving on to 7.4, consider and take action with respect to adopting a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in Ruston School District Number 1 of the Parish of Lincoln, State of Louisiana, to authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds therein, making application to the State Bond Commission, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Mr. Schluter.
Thank you. This is a companion resolution, just like we had for Dubai. This one calls the election for $17.5 million for the capital improvement plan that you just approved. Obligation of the school board to expend the funds to the extent available and feasible for specific projects. You must expend it for those projects, for the listed projects. It is a 5-year issue. Like the Shudra district, there is no projected increase in the current tax rate that's being paid by taxpayers for the outstanding bonds of the Ruston School District, and that rate is 16.75 mils. No projected increase. So both districts, no projected increase in the tax rate above what is being paid now for all the outstanding bonds of these two districts. Any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
For my school districts over here, it was Shudra and not Dubai.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board, and any public comment? Seeing none, hearing none, I would take a motion that we pass number 7.4.
So moved.
So moved by Hunter Smith. Is there a second? Second by Danny Hancock. I saw you move. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Okay. Mr. Heffler, 7.5.
Good afternoon. Yes, sir. We have the following buses that you'll have listed in front of you that are no further in use to Lincoln Parish Transportation Department. We're requesting that the board declare the above listed buses as surplus and grant us permission to dispose of them through the bid process. So our recommendation is that the school board declare the above mentioned buses as surplus and grant permission to dispose of them through the bid process.
Thank you. We have a request that we surplus buses. Is there any comment or any questions from the board? Any public comment? If not, I'll take a motion that we pass 7.5 and to grant those surplus buses.
So moved.
So moved by Hunter Smith, second by Ms. Debbie Abram. Thank you for that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Hearing that, we'll move on from there. Thank you, Mr. Heffler. Mr. Young.
The proposed calendar for 2024-25, it has 169 instructional days and includes enough instructional minutes to satisfy the 63,720 minutes as required by Bessie. It includes 6 professional development days for staff members. And one thing, this calendar may be adjusted based on emergencies or other mandates from elderly leave. I ask that the board approve this calendar today for public release later.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from the board? Any public comment on the school calendar next year? Hearing none or seeing none, I would take a motion we pass that as presented. So moved by Mr. Clark Canterbury, second by Mr. Joe Mitchum. Thank you for that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. So passes. Thank you for that, Mr. Young. Okay, reports. Dr. Lewis.
Yes, for February personnel, I'd like to report 1 faculty retirement, 3 faculty resignations, 4 faculty and staff recommendations, and 2 maintenance resignations.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Dr. Lewis. Okay, maybe to help with the question of the finances, Ms. Duke, would you give us the sales tax receipts for 2024?
Yes, for the month of January, our sales tax collections were actually down about 4.8% compared to January of last year, mainly because last January we received a one-time payment for a settlement of a sales tax claim, sales tax from the family protest that was settled and conducted last year. So that kind of skewed the comparison for this month. Overall, total cash collections compared to this time last year, we are about right even. Again, keep in mind the returns we had in July of this year that really has kind of kept our growth, reporting our growth to a minimum. But we have had growth in all months prior other to this point.
Yes, please go on. I'm sorry.
So, for the financial report for the month, fiscal year date ending December 31st for all school board general funds and special revenue funds. Total revenue through the general fund collected to date through December 31st is $29.6 million. Total special revenue funds generated 16.4 million. Total expenditures in the general fund 26.6
Thank you for that.
And one more report on our health insurance fund. Wish that we had some better news for it, but total overall, total collections in our food health insurance fund for the plan year, and the plan is on a calendar year basis, so we're reporting December 31, 2023. This is a comparison for the entire plan year to 2023 compared to the plan year for 2022. Overall, total contributions to the plan is $14.6 million compared to $13.2 million in last plan year. That's about $1.3 million increase in contributions. Mainly because of the previous year we had a waiver of paid premiums, trying to maintain, keep our net assets at the allowable limit in accordance with federal laws. Because we do have grants that are funded, there are funding portions of these premiums, which are employer contributions. Total plan expenses for the calendar year, for the plan year is $15.6 million. This is compared to expenses of $13.1 million in plan year 2022. That's about 2.46 $1 million increase in plan expenditures over the previous plan year. So total net change in net assets for the 12 months of our plan year is a decrease of $995,000 for the plan. And that's the report. And next month we will start off our new plan year, and we'll see comparisons starting off with the first month, January, 1 month, 2 months.
All right, thank you very much. So that is our financial report. So hopefully that helped you a little bit where we are in our true balances on that. Okay, so Mr. Durrett on our enrollment update.
Okay, so January, we have enrollment, you have an enrollment sheet there in your portfolio. We had all schools except for 3 that were above 95% attendance rate daily, which is up for us. I think it's good. Principals are continuing to push and try to get kids in school. Hopefully, the sickness going around will not affect that as much going forward, but those attendance rates do look much better this month than they did in December.
Thank you very much. Ms. Blake with the report for our new diversity committee.
Good afternoon. So there are actually several members of our diversity committee in the audience, so I will ask that you please stand to be recognized at this time. So just a brief recap, we are still at the very beginning stages of this new committee. We have had 2 meetings, and we have landed in some good places on things that we can work on as far as our initial projects are concerned. First and foremost, we wanted to make sure that everyone in our communities knew who was on this diversity committee. So pretty soon, you will be seeing some committee introductions coming out via our Lincoln Parish social media page and website, so that people know who they can come to with concerns or issues that they needed to be addressed by the diversity committee. Also, one of the things that came up was how could we help to provide internet service in rural areas, and what we want to make sure is that families are aware of affordable internet options, and also making sure that they are aware that there's internet access available in the parking lots of most of our schools that they could use. For parental involvement, that's our next really big push. We're going to leverage some religious leaders in our communities, and also do a big promotion for our parent conference day, which is coming up on February 20th, to make sure that parents are aware and possibly even incentivizing their attendance. At that time, we will also have a needs assessment survey that we would like parents to complete for us, so that we know the work that we're doing is meaningful and impactful. Lastly, as far as academics, one of our first projects would be to be sure that we are educated on the differences between the Jump Start and the TOPS diploma pathways. So our committee will attend a presentation by some of our local high school counselors, so that we are well informed, and then we can share that information with high school parents as they try to decide whether the Jump Start program or TOPS diploma option is best for their child. That concludes our report.
Thank you, Ms. Blake, for
I
that.
have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So,
We
as
have
far
not.
as,
We have not.
okay, can you let me know whenever y'all attend that? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Superintendent.
Yeah, very short. I do want to thank our counselors who did a fast tonight last Monday through the afternoon into the evening, 6:30. That we had really good turnout for what we've had in the past, but all three of our schools did that at the STEM Center. FAFSA, it's what seniors had to fill out going to college, grants for scholarships, for financial aid, and I think that has changed and become a little bit more of a challenge, so they are planning to do some more of those nights to try to help kids get that filled out. And then lastly, we have our job fair, just some advance notice coming up, April 16th. That's a Tuesday evening from 4:30 to 6, so we'll start getting more of that word out to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final reports or comments from the board members?
I noticed that there's a parent meeting, Ruston Junior High School, related to the graduation tracks. And I don't know if you or Mr. John can answer. Is that something that we require the parents to sign once they decide the different tracks? Are we requiring their signatures?
We are requiring their signatures. That happens between the sophomore and junior year. I mean, I think.
Are you talking about the informational meeting that was last night?
Oh, okay, so the informational meeting, but I'm talking about once we declare those tracks.
Right.
So they don't sign until their sophomore year and not their.
Their sophomore year is when they declare which track they're taking.
Okay.
Last night, I believe, was just the informational meeting with all the opportunities